Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. This is Psychic Medium Raymond Guzman, and today I'm going to be talking about, everything that's going on right now. It is insane. Like, people are losing it because of the fact that we are in the middle of a quarantine, social distancing, self-isolating, whatever the issue is. Just to give you perspective, there is someone that is a YouTuber. His name is Luscious Massacre, and I was looking at his video recently. He contracted the COVID or the coronavirus, and has been dealing with it for the last couple of weeks. And he came from Burbank to Brownsville, Texas, which is close to my hometown where I live. Very close. And he had his first symptoms were, his eyes were hurting, and basically he was having shortness of breath. And the thing is here is that, there was a lot of people. I was just looking at the comments. I know a lot of you that look at my videos and you listen to the comments. You look at the comments and you read them. A lot of people come to my videos just to read the comments, especially like when I did the Kobe Bryant video and stuff like that. So whenever I do videos, that are controversial, I tend to, disable the comments section. And the reason for that is because I am at a point in my life at 37 years old, soon to be 38 years old. And, I feel very blessed and very grateful, and I've tried to create a good environment here on my channel, just like Luscious has on his own channel and stuff, and I'm not defending or, taking anyone's side, but, I still see that people have not learned their lesson, the lesson that Mother Gaia, Earth has, given us with all of this. People are still rooted in their negativity, and I'm like, girl, come on. Get over it. It's, if anything, if this coronavirus has taught us anything, it's about being grateful for our blessings and being thankful for what we have, because there's people out there that have the coronavirus, like Luscious has, that are not getting tested. There's not enough test kits. The fact of the matter is, we can blame the government, we can blame the president, but no one was prepared for this, and we need to stop blaming people regardless. That's the message that I want to send today out. This is not going to be a very long Gemini rant that I usually go on, because I'm recovering from acute pharyngitis. I want to say, though, that when I had the upper respiratory symptoms of acute pharyngitis, if you are familiar with it, it sometimes does mimic a lot of the symptoms of the coronavirus. And for a moment, I was praying to God, and I asked Spirit, please do not let me get that coronavirus. I just don't want to deal with that. I don't want to deal with pneumonia, especially viral pneumonia. And luckily, I didn't display the shortness of breath that they have. But I do believe that there are a lot of people that have the coronavirus or had it back in December, January, and February, and didn't even know. They weren't testing. And there's still a lot of, in smaller rural towns, there's a lot of these places that are not set up. Hospitals are not equipped for it. So, take a look at Luscious Massacre's videos so that you'll know what I'm talking about. I think he's done like 2 of them. He is a drag queen performer, YouTuber, and my heart goes out to him. I think a lot of people were, you're crying wolf, you're asking for donations, but the fact of the matter is that we need to stop blaming other people. I don't care level of empath you are or intuitive, and you may see something that you may have all the validity, that maybe he is exaggerating, or maybe something is being a little exaggerated. But who are we to judge anybody else? And I feel like that's what this whole virus is showing us, is that people are still gonna bitch and complain and are gonna be ungrateful. And I'm sorry for my language in this video. I try to keep it as clean and positive as possible, but it just irritates me as an empath, that feels and that sees all this negativity that is going on in the world right now. That's the last thing that anybody needs right now. We need to stay positive. We need to uplift our vibration. We need to come together as a community and help one another, not judging somebody because they're getting money on their Cash App, they're getting money on their Venmo, they're getting this and this. You never know if it's going to be your brother or sister, your grandma, you that needs in that situation. I think back to when I went through the Hurricane Harvey in 2017. I never felt like I was going to be the one to be asking for donations at that time, and I had to ask because it was very humbling experience to ask for help. But I was always raised to, you can do that mentality, that mentality that you can do things yourself. But in times of need, and we were not put on this earth to be by ourselves. That's why you were born into a family, regardless of your circumstances and regardless of what you're going through in life. We like to, as a society, we've been programmed and we've been voided of our emotions, almost like of our empathy and of our sympathy towards others, and we judge them for things that are beyond their control. Nobody knows if you're symptomatic. Sometimes it can be confused with allergy season because we are an allergy. Sometimes it can be confused with a common influenza strain because nobody really knows that they're having, these episodes. This virus is invisible. It's an invisible enemy. It's not going to be something that that you haven't, and then it's like an incubation period of 2 weeks or so, and then in that time you could be infected and actually infecting other people. And I'm not talking about this to create fear, about the virus, but to create awareness, and help people wake up and realize that this is like an invisible enemy that you don't have control of. You don't know until you're tested. And that's the thing that I think that they're doing a lot of. I know here in Texas in particular, they're setting up like locations where you can drive by and do a self-test, like swab, and then you hand that test over to them. And I don't know how they give you the results, but they do. It's just not everybody has health care. Not everybody has insurance. Not everybody has a doctor, and people will say, well, Obamacare was the best. And, well, that's what happens when they take away Obamacare. I was just looking at the comments and stuff like that. It doesn't matter what healthcare system you have. The healthcare industry and the insurance companies are very greedy, and regardless of what you have, sometimes it's not enough. And these people that are in the hospitals on ventilators and they're are struggling with their health, the best thing that we can do is pray for them and pray for their recovery, because not everybody's going to be fortunate enough to get on a ventilator. Not everyone's going to make it through that hospitalization. And it's just the reality. It is the reality that we're going through right now. And I just wanted to express that, and get a lot of my rays of light and people who, that may be listening to my channel for the very first time, listening to this message of positivity on this beautiful Sunday afternoon when I'm doing this podcast. I want you to be thankful. Spend a couple of minutes of your day and light a candle and meditate and say a prayer to your angels, thanking them and asking them for protection of your family and yourself. Like I said, when I had that moment that I was really, really sick, and I'm still sick, but I'm recovering. I'm on my third day of antibiotics. It was just, something where, life flashes past, it passes by very quickly. It's like flashes before your eyes, and you're thinking in that moment, what if I have it? How does that change your life? It can change your life radically, in so many ways. My heart goes out to the nurses, to the doctors who are working in all the hospitals around the world. the things that they're having to endure, the hours that they're having to put in, and the danger that they're putting themselves in with this virus, and then having to come back home to their families. A lot of these doctors and nurses are sleeping in the garage. They're sleeping in isolated rooms away from their family because they fear that they're going to bring it back home to their family. Now, I can't speak for every single nurse or doctor out there or medical staff that maybe EMS that's doing this, but there's a majority of people that are doing this to protect their family. And I just keep reading the comments that people are leaving. Is just full of negativity, and people that are, complaining about their job, that they are without a job, and they're blaming the president. They're blaming the government. You need to stop the blame. We need to stop the blame. Regardless if you're right, regardless if you're wrong, we need to come together and be united. You expressing, how you feel is one thing, but right now is not the time for that. There's a lot of people, the same people that are complaining that they're without a job were the ones that were complaining when they had their job and they were going on a 9 to 5 job or working whatever shift. And they were like, I cannot wait for the weekend. I'm so over this job. And now you got what you want. A lot of those people, that were negative about their job, about their employer, and complaining. You may not like that I'm saying this, but I'm spilling the right tea, the real tea here. This is real talk, and I think a lot of people need to hear this because it's those same people that kept bitching and complaining. I don't like my job. I hate my boss. This and this and this. And now look at you. You're at home. You're unemployed or you're laid off and you're still complaining. Nothing has changed. You haven't learned one thing about this virus. So yes, I'm being kind of, I guess, very real, and some people are not going to be able to like this. I know I'm going to get dislikes on this video, but I don't care. I'm not doing this video to speak about likes or get likes or views. I'm not like that, and my rays of light know that. I'm here to spill the real tea. It's the same people that have been bitching all these years about their job and being unhappy that are still bitching because now, they're unemployed. And I'm like, girl, hello, you were complaining all this time about your job when you had one, and now the good Lord, the universe has granted you your wishes of not being in a job that was making you unhappy, and you're still unhappy. That's the problem with us as a collective and low vibrations and a 3D mentality, a third dimension mentality, is that we have not risen up our energy. We have not acclimated to the levels that we need to be. I'm not going to say that as a light worker that it's possible to stay at a high vibration all the time, because that's impossible. That would be impossible to achieve. But for the most part, you can try your best to elevate and stay positive in your thoughts. People are going through PTSD through this. People are going to be affected for months, years to come from all of this. If it's not financial recovery, it's going to be on a mental level, a recovery, because this is traumatizing to people. It's traumatizing to a lot of people. A lot of people live paycheck to paycheck. They didn't save. They were too busy buying their Louis Vuittons. They're buying their, their lace wigs or their lace wigs from Brazil or wherever. And they were too busy, going to the clubs, partying and all this and that. And they never saved. And it's like, who do you have to blame at the end of the day? What were your choices? Now is a time that you can self-reflect. Now is a time that we can make changes and think about our life. But I see people wishing their ex had that, wishes that their ex gets the COVID-19 or the coronavirus. And I'm like, are you serious? Are you serious? Wishing that on anybody. I would never have the heart to wish that anybody gets that virus. That's just disgusting that people are wishing evil. That's like wishing death on someone, a death sentence. We're not God to make that kind of decision. And I feel like that's our punishment. The reason that we're going through all of this is to change the world, but some people are not changing. A lot of the older generations that were very close-minded are dying from this. They're dying away, and it's making way for a new wave of generations, a new wave of enlightened beings and souls into this planet. Just so much toxicity. Now is the time to pray to God. But where was God in your life? For those of you that, that are, because I see a lot of people, and the fakery out there is also something, that I don't want to talk about, but it's being real. All this time, people were out there too busy living their life, and they would go to Sunday, go to church, or they didn't go to church or whatever. And now they're like praying to God, that they don't get the virus, or praying to God. Where was your faith before this? That's the thing that a lot of people ask me, like, Ray, how do you stay so positive? And how do you, for anybody that's followed my journey and trajectory when I went through the Hurricane Harvey, I would always stayed positive through the whole thing. I tried to stay as positive I can. I tried to pray every moment I got. And just stayed positive, because I knew that there was a reason for this. Everything happens in this universe for a reason. And if it happens to you, rather than playing, oh my God, I'm a victim. No, you're not a victim of your circumstance. You're a survivor. And there's a lesson behind everything that we go through. A lot of people were very stagnated in their lives prior to this virus, very focused on the superficiality. Now people are cutting their own hairs. They're doing their own hair colors. A lot of people are sick because they don't like to be at home. The reason that you're sick is not because you're stuck at home. You're not stuck in a prison. The reason that you're sick from, being isolated is because now you're having to sit with your own energy. And it makes you uncomfortable to be sitting in with your own energy and maybe some of the toxic patterns that you have created in your life. And now you're having to face the actual reality and the gravity of your own energy that you've created and the own web that you have created for yourself. And it's not pretty. When we sit with ourselves, that's part of the healing process. So out of this whole virus, there is some healing that is coming from this. It's healing on a global scale for a lot of people who have complained, who have been miserable, who have, blamed God, who have blamed the universe. Only are, you are only responsible for your own happiness and your own situations. No one is responsible for you but yourself and what you create. And I think that's why some people are stuck in these kind of prisons of negativity, and they're shackled to these patterns they cannot break free, and they are resisting this whole awakening that's happening, because this whole coronavirus, guys, it is a massive awakening, and it's an elevation of consciousness. It is a new vibration, a new energy, a rebirth, and a dying of old patterns and old ways of thinking that no longer serve us. And it's scary. It's ugly and it's scary when you have to start dealing with your own mortality, your own decisions that you've made, past, present, and future ones that you're going to make after this, but mainly of the past and the present decisions. You can't go back to the past and change that, but you can focus on the present, and you can change the future, because we have our free will, and that's what God has given us. That is what, Mother Gaia has given us, the universe, source, great spirit, whatever you want to call it out there. That is what we have been given. Tomorrow's not promised, but we are living in the now. And I know a lot of this sounds cliched. A lot of this is has been repeated over and over. And I don't want to come across as sanctimonious, even though I know some people are going to feel that I'm coming across very judgmental, sanctimonious, like I don't stink, or, I don't have my own flaws. And I'm not, I know it may come out like that, but when I speak like this, it's spirit that is wanting me to deliver these messages because they need to be heard for a reason. So whatever you're doing right now is the time to be thankful, to be grateful. Of course, you're not going to have good days. No one does. I don't even have good days. I have, through this whole thing, I've had days where I'm dealing with, ups and downs where I'm just like, I'm even having to face my own, my own patterns and my own ways of thinking and what I've done. And I have to sit with that and kind of change it. It's changed me a lot to really, first of all, to like eliminate every toxic person from my life, not to tolerate and hold space for toxicity at all. And through this whole quarantine, I had to end a friendship, which wasn't easy at all, but it was a very mysterious, one-sided type of friendship where I never got to meet this person's identity. And I'm only speaking about it now, and we had been messaging for months, and I had to like be like, can we FaceTime? Can I at least, get that? And I couldn't. The person was very shady. Now, mind you, I knew more or less who this was, etc. And I rarely talk about my personal life at all, but this is what is the reality of it. And I finally said the other day, I said, you know what? I'm not someone to hold space for someone that is not willing to. I have a lot of trust issues as a person, not because I am just like a YouTuber, but or I consider myself a celebrity psychic medium, but because, of my following and of, my position and what I do. I know that may sound kind of like pretentious, but trust me, I'm not coming from a place of ego. I have to be careful with who I associate with, because not everybody is there for your, to lift you up and for your protection if you've ever been in that kind of situation. And you cannot be friends with someone if you don't even know who you are talking to. And I see like 90 Day Fiance and all these people that you talk to them online for forever. But this person, I didn't even get to talk to them on the phone with a phone call. They wouldn't phone call. They wouldn't allow a phone call. They wouldn't do FaceTime, and they wouldn't do, any video messaging. So I was like, I can't do that. I just can't hold space for someone that wants to be anonymous for whatever reason. I do deserve to, have some kind of visibility and know who my friends are, who is in my inner circle. And it's something, I wanted to talk about what I got away from, all of this situation. And it was very painful for me to, do that. I know a lot of people think as Geminis, which I'm a Gemini with a double Cancer, Cancer moon, Cancer rising. A lot of people think that as Geminis, we're two-faced, or that we, are just very manipulative, and that we're very we flip a switch and basically we can be, good or evil. But that's not who I am, and that's not who my fellow Geminis are. We are one of the most loyal signs in the zodiac. And, this whole time that I've been sitting with myself, I've been recovering, like I said, from this acute pharyngitis. I know I don't sound like I have it, but my voice is like going in and out. I have to keep a lot of liquids, keep my throat very coated with like honey. Teas, warm soups, and stuff like that, so I can even get through this whole podcast. But the thing here is that, I'm sitting and I'm looking at my life and the decisions that I've made, and I keep saying to myself, after this quarantine, after Miss Rona goes away, what do I want to do? What is my vision board now? There's been a lot of growth, a lot of decisions, things that I make mistakes and I own up to them, and I apologize to people when I've lost some friendships, and I think part of that has been part of my mistakes, my own insecurities that have come to the surface. I tried to get closure from all of those situations during, this time, but this is a process that actually started with me that I rarely talk about. A few months ago, and I started, writing emails to people, letting them know how I firmly believed and felt the way they made me feel, that they were so-called friends. And then it got too real, and then I was kind of like casted as the bad person in that whole situation. And so I had to distance myself from that. I don't like losing friends. I don't like losing people in my life. But I also am at a point where if you cannot be authentic and you can't give 50-50 and acknowledge that there are problems that you have within your own self, not returning a text message, leaving me, ghosting me, or giving me radio silence. That, they're, and the excuse is always, I'm busy. That's the whole thing. Now people are no longer busy, and they don't have that excuse that they are busy, because now the world has paused. It's come to a pause in many ways. So you need to think about your actions out there. Like, think about what you do, how you treat people. I have some people that come to me, I want a reading, but they don't want to go to my website. They don't want to look at my, my verbiage, my pricing and all that. They want me to type it all out. I get 50 or 60 or 70 DMs. And then I have people that come asking that they want to get a reading, and it's like a farce. It's only just to, like, ha ha ha. This is a joke. And they think that I don't know, like, who's doing that, or who's coming to me for that. And then I block that person because it's a negative energy, and I'm not going to read for that person. And then they have their family member coming and messaging me and harassing me and giving me, nasty messages during this quarantine time, during this whole mass awakening, making it about them when they're not authentic and coming from an authentic place towards me. And as a psychic and a medium, that's something that I want that a lot of my colleagues that are listening and people out there that have spiritual abilities, a lot of you, my rays of light, to know you don't have to tolerate that. You create your own rules. You create your own personal bubble of protection and your own power. You don't have to tolerate this foolery. There's going to be people that will consider you an enemy and that won't like you and will spread gossip about you and call you crazy, call you a narcissist because, you're open, because they are not willing to do that same type of work. They're not willing to put themselves out there publicly, and they're not willing to be authentic. And that's the world that we live in right now. It's a very crazy world. There's people that, that are just toxic, and they're never going to change. Regardless of who they are, they'll hold a personal vendetta against you, or think that maybe you did something, or you're still talking about them, or still obsessing over them. And the fact of the matter is that you've healed and that you've moved on. But they cannot forget about you, because they're the ones that are still hooked to your energy and cannot accept the fact that they're no longer that you no longer are playing that game, and you're no longer willing to tolerate that negativity. But you need to use this time to think about, after Rona disappears, after the world starts getting back to a normality, to some level of normalness, what do you want out of this? Like, what are your goals? Because for a lot of people, I honestly feel like there's going to be a lot of changes that come from this. Like, people are not coming out of this quarantine the same, because they've been forced to go through an awakening, regardless if they see it or not. And I'm not talking about, like, just necessarily a spiritual awakening. It's a soul awakening. It's a conscious awakening of our conscious, our higher selves, seeing things from a new set of lenses. Not what we've been told by our parents, what we've been told by our grandparents, by your aunt or your uncle, your auntie. No, it's a whole new world that we are in right now. And it's not pretty, it's going to be, a lot of people are still going to be in that cycle, and we're going to still see a lot of people resisting the change. But the fact of the matter is that we have changed, and we can't go back and rewrite history, but we can make tomorrow better, and we can come together and eliminate our own patterns of toxicity that need to be changed, our own matters of judging people, hoarding, when people hoard toilet paper, they hoard food and supplies. To me, that's a low vibration. That's someone that is not secure of the world, of themselves, and there's a fear that's driving them to do that. It's a greediness. It's like they have not dealt with it. And I think a lot of the people that have done this are the same people that were very unhappy in their life and were used to, being out partying and just taking life very loosely and not, caring about other people. Those are the people that are struggling the most during this quarantine. So I leave you on a positive note. I love you all. I send you big angel hugs and blessings. I hope that you can, move past all of the stuff that is going on the media, everything that, as we start going back to work soon, you know, and we start getting back into the systems, be aware, be conscious of the other person. Cough in the sleeve, or the elbow in your arm fold, your crease. Don't cough on your hands and then go touch objects. Be mindful. I feel like a lot of these things that we're taking and we're doing now to prevent the coronavirus, we should have been doing this a long time ago, and a lot of people just were not raised that way with manners. So that's what we need to take away and still keep doing a lot of these a lot of the things that we're doing now. I honestly feel like social distancing is really good in some places, at certain times, not all the time, but in certain occasions, like, we're like classrooms where, chairs and stuff are so close together. There needs to be a better uniform system. And, I feel like there is going to be more changes that we're going to see on the way. But stay positive, stay in prayer. Again, I have some special announcements on my Instagram to be making soon, so stay tuned to that. And I hope you're having an amazing weekend wherever you are. Make the most of it. Blessings of love and light, my rays of light. Until next time, bye.